Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. What does that mean, safer? It means, look, your retirement accounts, you've heard us preach this now, 12 and a half years, about keeping some of your money safe, keeping the part that really matters for your income that's designed to be there when you need it. Everybody wants free stuff. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to get things, if you will, at a discount. Well, right? Nobody says, oh, I don't want that deal. But do you like the negatives that come with it? How many times have we heard people say, well, Arif, it's nice that the market goes up, but to make money. But when it goes down, I want my broker to pay. They lost my money. You say, well, did you split it with them when it went up? Well, no. Well, then, look, that's part of the game. And if you don't like the game, and I'm not saying you're supposed to like it, I'm saying if you don't like it, then you can make changes. Jeff, there's things called an immediate annuity. Now, when we're talking about income, we're talking about a retirement time in your life. A lot of people don't understand that almost every type of pension is an annuity, including Social Security.
That's right. Which, again, going back to the word annuity, it's a stream of payments. And in this case, an immediate annuity, you have some different levels. Sometimes it can meet short-term needs, meaning 5 or even 10 years can be short-term when we're talking about 3 and maybe even 4 decades of your life being in retirement. That's a large number, and that's a lot of income and money to account for. So when it comes to an immediate annuity, these are typically used in tandem with other financial products, especially when it comes to retirement income planning. It's going to make a lot of sense to have some of your money go into that if your need is immediately to have income replaced. Let's say you retire from a job. What do we do when we work? We get a paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, every month. An immediate annuity can replace some of that, if not all of that income, depending on how much money you put into that account, and it can come back to you in the form of a monthly payment. Now, again, we talk about control, and I think we opened this conversation, Arif, with access to annuities. Do they have liquidity? Do they have access? Well, it really depends. An immediate annuity is designed to give you those payments. It's not a bucket of money that you can say, hi, I got $1,000 this month, and next month I need $2,000. That's not how it really works.
Not if it's an immediate annuity.
Right.
That's SPIA. We call it single premium immediate annuity, is very similar to your pensions. I'll give you a good example. We had a client who retired from a small city in the San Fernando Valley and said, well, San Fernando, I guess, there's not too many small cities, retired from San Fernando and was given an option. She can receive a higher amount of money for her lifetime, nothing when she passes away to her husband. She can receive a little bit of a lower amount for her lifetime and her husband's lifetime, or she can receive a much lower amount, a little bit lower, but guaranteed for the next 20 years, regardless who lives. Which means if she passes away in 5 years, her husband passes away 5 more years, that means there's 10 years left for her kids or church or charity or whomever she chooses to receive that extra money. That is a single premium immediate annuity. Meaning, if she's been taking payments, or you've been taking payments from the gas company for 3 years, you're on a pension, and they say, stop everything. I don't want it. Give me $100,000 in cash. They're going to say, no, sorry. The bucket of dollars that you had there are no longer there. You now are just entitled to a paycheck. Now, for some people, they retire from the gas company or the phone company or Edison, and they are given an option. Sometimes they're given a buyout option. We have seen it where they say, you are entitled to, I'll give you a number that's recently, it was like a bit over $500,000. Wow, isn't that a lot of money? Plus whatever they saved in their own retirement account. Wow. You can have $500,000 in cash and nothing more from the company ever. Done. Or you can receive $2,900 a month, for example, forever, as long as you live or your husband or your wife lives, right? Those things are important because you have a choice. But once you take the $3,000 a month or whatever that number is, you give up the $500, it's over. But if you took that big lump sum buyout, what would you do with it? You would use annuities, at least for a big part of it, because it acts the same, gives you that guaranteed stream of income. But the one big difference
is the control. And that's where we look at laddering or layering, sometimes you might hear, different types of annuities in this case to have that same number achieved in income every month as you would from that pension. But now you've got more control, right? Because if once you took that, in Arif's example, $2,900 a month, you can't change your mind if you need a pay raise next month, or, hey, you know what? I didn't realize I was going to have so much income from these other sources, and now I don't need that much for my pension, and I can't back off the others, and I'm paying so much in taxes. How do I regulate that? Well, that's where it comes into play, where you take that lump sum and you can disseminate that or spread it out over different annuities. That immediate annuity, as we talked about, it's very similar to the pension. Once you make a decision with it, then it's irrevocable. You can't change that for whatever the term is. So here's some examples. Arif was talking about different levels of taking income from your pension. You might get a higher number, and when you die, those payments stop. You can do the same thing with an immediate annuity. You can ask for the highest number that they're willing to offer you, and then if you pass away, then they say, okay, whether it was 10 minutes or 10 years from now, it doesn't matter. That payment is what it was for that term. Or you can say, pay me a little bit of a lower number, but guarantee it for at least 10 years, so that even if I pass away, my spouse or my kids or whomever my beneficiary is would still continue to receive those payments. And you can set those different terms. I think it's like 5, 10, or 20 years in some cases. So you're going to want to check with a professional that deals with those and has access to multiple companies. So that's the immediate annuity, acting very much like the pension, and that can help bridge some of the income, Arif, as we were talking about, that you may still need once you stop working. Now look, you may even be working part-time and not need as much income as would be coming from that pension. We've seen that as well. The new retirement sometimes means that people work part-time, they earn money, and they still have either that income stream that they're concerned with or a big bucket of dollars to manage. So I think that's another healthy part to consider, is using that immediate annuity.
That's right, and that will give you control and access as your needs change. Let's say 8 years from now, you decide to either go back to work or go back to school, or maybe you've started a second career, or you've sold the house, or you need money to buy an RV. Maybe you're getting into a new hobby. If you take that lump sum from the corporation, from the company, and you put some in that immediate annuity where you're getting that monthly stream, you still have access to the other chunk of dollars. And that allows you to buy those things, or to help your daughter with her wedding, or to help your son with his new business. The option of having a buyout where you take a lump sum and those dollars go with you is very key to laying out possibilities, especially if you're retiring in your 50s or early 60s, right? Because usually, if you're retiring early enough, the company or your employer knows they are going to have 30, 40 years to keep you on the books. In other words, they're going to have to pay you. They're committing to something, and where they have no idea what the company's profits are going to be look like. Imagine 35 years ago, if you retired with Southern California Edison, and very few people had solar energy. Today, people are done. Many people are saying, I have a $1 a year, solar bill, or
right.
$4. But Southern California Edison still has to make payments to retirees who retired 20 and 30 years ago before solar energy was taken into account, and now those people are no longer paying a utility payment. So what's going to happen to the rest of us? I think we're going to have higher payments. It's the same thing with electric cars. You have to realize this, right? When they're charging gasoline tax in the state of California of $1.50, $2 by the time it's all done, gas tax, and you now have an electric car, or your car's getting 40 or 50 or 60 miles to the gallon and not 10, what do you think they're going to do with gasoline tax? When we have built an infrastructure in the state of California whereby public documents will tell you over 3,000 state California workers, just I think in Caltrans if I'm not mistaken, but just in state of California workers have duplicate jobs, meaning they shouldn't be working. And if it was a normal business, you would say, sir, sorry, man, we're more efficient. There's 2 people doing one person's job. We can't afford your benefits, your retirement, your health insurance. So one of you has to go, and they usually take the lower person who's been there less time and say, sorry, you're retired or you're laid off, and we're going to keep the older. But why don't they? because the state of California is run so corruptly, financially speaking. It has a one political party system. Look, you could probably go to counties and states across the country where it's the other side of the political spectrum. If there isn't anybody challenging you, if you think you're king or queen or God, you're going to make financial decisions where nobody checks you. And we have now an entire infrastructure of people that are being paid for not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, financially necessary things anyway. And your retirement pension is based on that. Your take-home pay is based on today's numbers. When you have less people that are going to work and making money and paying taxes, and I think that a $2,000 or $5,000 or $8,000 a month pension is going to be the same going forward, I don't think it's going to be. I think they're going to be raising taxes, which means your take-home pay is going to go lower. I think when you raise taxes, you're going to see it. You already see it. An employer came in this morning into our office. 300 employees were laid off at a company here in town.
Wow.
Not 300. Why? Because they raised the minimum wage, workers' comp, and payroll taxes. Do you think the manager, the owner, the supervisor said, oh, I guess I make less money now? No, he says, you two pick one that's going to stay. The other one has to work harder because we're paying you more money and you're fired the other one. That's why it's stunning to me when you have non-math people running an organization called the state of California. Why does that matter to your pension? Because that is what they will take. They have to find a resource to tap in and take that money. When less people are paying for electricity, if you work for the electric company, surprise, there's less money coming in. That means more people have to pay more money to keep the same overhead. So this is not a zero-sum game. It's not, a game where you say, oh, well, I guess it all works out in the end. No. I think your pension could be under pressure if they structure it this way. So please make sure that you realize just because today you can live on $3,800 a month plus Social Security plus this plus that doesn't mean in the future $3,800 is appropriate. I remember I was sitting at a recruitment booth. I worked for LAPD back in 1995, and a gentleman walks up, an older gentleman, I don't know, he was probably in his 70s or 80s, and he walks up and he had a police ID. Does this look familiar, youngster? And it was red. I didn't know police IDs used to be red. Firefighters usually are red and police are blue. And it was a red police retiree ID. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so great. And you look at the chief was, I think, Ed Davis or Parker. I think it was Parker, decades ago. And he says, I retired in I think it was 1962. It was before I was born, something like 1960 something. And I'm like, great, you've been collecting a pension for 30 years. Great job. He goes, yeah, I worked 25 years or something, And his pension when he retired was $400 a month. Well, in the 60s, when your house payment was $70 and $80 a month, because that's what it was, $65, $70 for a nice house, and you were receiving $400 a month, that's not bad. 8 times, right? So today, if your home is $2,000 a month times 8, your pension would be $16,000 a month. You could live pretty nicely on that. But today, guess what it is? With minuscule cost of living increases, it's about $900 a month. So he's been gone from the workforce for 30 years, and his $900 a month pension is not enough to live on. But back when he retired, it was like living like a king. So unless you're going to retire at 75 or 80 years old, I think you have to have a backup plan. And the annuity structure fills that gap. It's the just in case. So we like that as retirement income. How about, Jeff, with some of these things called a lifetime income benefit rider? I want to say it's a rider, but not everybody understands it. What's a rider?
Well, a rider is a provision or a benefit that's above and beyond the normal chassis of the account. And those are a lot of words to say. An annuity can be a type of account where you deposit money and it hopefully grows over time and you can take income from it. But the lifetime income benefit rider is, I think it's a more advanced feature, but it's very simple in the sense and clean in the sense that you can ask the company. Let me back up. I really want to make this a good point. When we were talking earlier about access and liquidity and having an amount of money that you can access in these types of deferred annuities, we're gonna switch gears here to an account where you put money in and you decide whether it's a year or 2 or 5 or 10 years from now, I want to start drawing money from this account. That's a deferred annuity. So in this scenario, you can tell the company how much you would like to take out, and during a certain period, let's call it 5, 7, or 10 years, for example, they may say, look, you're going to not pay any fees or have any risk to your principal. We're going to pay you reasonable rates of interest, and you can have access to that. But we don't want you to take out more than 10% for free. And they say, okay, I think that's a good deal. Now look, can you access more? Yes. But if you go above and beyond what they call the free withdrawal, then there could be a fee associated with that. So you want to be careful of that. But let's just say you don't need all 10%, and you say, gosh, I'm no math wizard, I'm no financial guru, but I know I need income for the rest of my life. What percentage do I take out of this account so that it never runs out? And look, I don't know if I'm going to live 25, 35, 45 years. I've told you this. My aunt is 100 years old.
That's amazing.
And I'm 39. She has been retired since I've been breathing air.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, so let's think about this. What was the world like when she was 39? Right? Let's think about that.
Yeah.
Because if she was born in 1916 plus 39 years old,
Yep.
that was 1955. Eisenhower was president. Korea War was in full swing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had just come off of a pretty big recession. Because, folks, you forget, you think the Great Depression was in the 30s.
Yeah.
It was. 1929, stock market crash. 30s was a bad depression. We were coming out of it. And then Roosevelt says, I'm here to help. And so as soon as they came in with all these tax programs, we went double. It's called a double dip. We went back into a deeper recession, which became the Depression. Go into World War II. We come out on the other side of it. All of these GIs are done with working for the government, if you will, as a military person. They come out in the United States. Those homes, see some of those pictures where you see just neighborhoods after neighborhoods of cookie cutter homes all throughout the San Fernando Valley being built by General Motors to build the plant in Van Nuys, the studios out in Burbank, and all those little homes, all right, they overbuilt. And they go, now what? 52, 53, another big recession, if you will, and then Korean War. And your aunt was in the middle of that economic craziness, right? Because she was 19, 20 years old, still 30,
Yep.
21, 22, during the recession, that became a depression, meaning she saw some ups and downs. In her lifetime, at the time she was your age, there was nothing stable about the U.S. economy.
Agreed.
We were excited and then crummy and up and down and happy and sad, and just nothing was normal. So tell me now, what does that person do at age 100?
Well, and sadly, I don't know about her career field or what she and her husband did. Her husband passed. My uncle, great uncle. These are both my great aunt and uncle. He passed when I was very young, and so she's lived as a widow for, gosh, I would say 30 years, something like that. So whatever financial means they had when he passed, and she didn't go back to work, as far as I knew, that money had to last. Now, the instruments we're talking about now didn't really exist in the same form. The concept of an annuity, of a pension, of a guaranteed income stream for retirement, that's always been there, or at least as far back as we can remember, when pensions and Social Security were, part of the financial system. But the onus is on us now. The financial responsibility is on us. An increasing number of employers out there are offering pension buyouts. They're saying, look, we're willing to give you $500,000, as in our example earlier, instead of just giving you $3,000 or $2,500 a month or whatever that is, because they don't know how long you're going to live. Advances in medicine, people just living healthier lifestyles. Not everybody smokes and drinks like they used to. Not everybody has the same social habits. We're seeing just a change in how people live in retirement. And so, we've heard, 50 is the new 40 and 60 is the new 50. Well, that's true. People are doing that. And it's to the point where even the uniform life tables, these are the tables that very smart people that calculate how long we're going to live, these are the tables they're going to use. And that has actually lengthened by, I think, 1.5 years or 2 years.
No, it's actually,
is it more?
We've just hit, I just pulled it up. I want to remember because I want to be as close to accuracy as we can. We now go from all sorts of craziness up to and including almost 30 months.
Okay, so that's almost 3 years. That's a long time.
Yes, big deal.
It is. So what does that mean? The longer you live, the lower those payments potentially could be as far as an offer goes from your company. So when we're talking about taking this lump sum distribution from your company pension or even a 401k, if you're to say, gosh, what do I do with this money? It's just been building and building over time. I've been putting money into it. I've done pretty well or I've done not so well. Whatever the case, you've got to access that money. A lifetime income benefit rider as part of what we like are fixed indexed or fixed annuities, where you don't lose your principal, you don't pay any fees, and you won't go backwards. That's a really nice thing. These instruments have an income rider that's a part of the annuity that says, insurance company, I want you to calculate what it's going to take to never outlive this money. And that's a really nice feature because you don't have to say, hey, give me 5 this year, give me 4% next year, give me 3,000. You don't know.
It's a transfer of risk. You're taking the problem of running out of money and moving it to somebody else. Now, most of us will say, oh gosh, I'm just trying to pay my bills and I got kids and then college and then daycare, or I get it. All of us have been there. If you have any children or any financial troubles at all, everybody's been there on some fashion. I remember when my parents would argue about $20. My mom would say, hey, I need $20. Where I gave you $20 yesterday. What did you do with it? And it was a tough time. Sometimes things were great and sometimes they weren't. Probably most of you have been there. What we're talking about might seem so far in the future, but literally every single day matters. You know it. When you swipe your debit card, it's not even real money anymore. And ask yourself this, how long does a $100 bill last in your purse or your pocket? A lot longer than a $5 bill, because you can quickly spend a $1 or $5. But if it's 100s or 20 or 50, one of the larger 20s not so much, but you think about it for a minute. You go, do I really need to break this? I'd probably just going to keep it. No, never mind.
That's right. Yeah, the old adage, once you break that 100, it's gone, because it's easier to let go of some of those smaller bills. I want to just finish up really quickly on the lifetime income benefit rider. You can say, okay, great. So the company says they're going to calculate how much money it'll take for you to never outlive. So what are they going to give you, $5 a year when you have $100,000 in there? No, they're not going to do that. What they say is they're transferring the risk, as Arif says, from you to them, meaning this. If you were to just take money out every single month or every single year until you spent the account down to zero, then it's done. Once the account is at zero, it's done. The income rider or the lifetime income benefit rider on these annuities, what they allow you to do is have that predictable income payment. Even if you spend the money down to zero, they will continue the payment to you, which is a beautiful thing. Now look, they're smart. They've been doing this a while. They know how long we're going to live. Isn't that crazy? An insurance company knows how long we're going to live.
And the weird part about it is, remember, to you, to them, you are a number. I mean, it sounds a little bit morbid. They say we have a room full of 1,000 people. They can predict with reasonable certainty. Today, the number came out about 32 months longer.
Okay.
The difference between 2010 and today, the numbers say that in 6 years, people are actually living, on a whole, about 3 years longer. Now, you might go, yay, that's awesome. But an insurance company or a pension fund that has to make 32 more payments, Social Security that has to make 32 more payments, has to rework everything, because it's not just one person. It's thousands of people, millions of people that have to receive this extra money. It's difficult to stress to you enough how much of a challenge this is going to be in the coming decades. And if you are 35, 45 worried about, or 55 worried about, daycare and paying off this, and I get it. But unless you're dead, you're going to be 65 or 70 years old someday going, uh-oh, we made a mistake 20 years ago. So today is that time to be able to work on those details. And that's where that process comes in, where you can sit there and say, look, I think I'm going to be all right, but I just need to make a couple of tweaks. We'd love it if you work with us. That's great, but you don't have to. Find a good company that is not biased, that is not married to. Look, if you write a check to the broker or the name of the company that's on the building, then I think you're in the wrong place, right? You might have a wonderful person at Morgan Lynch or Charles Edwards, or mix and match those. That's wonderful. But that person has one responsibility: to make money for themselves and the company. Second, maybe. First, close to the first or way in the bottom is you. Our recommendation is to find a company that works through a brokerage firm that has the access to dozens of companies, and they run it through a grid. So I don't care who comes in first, they all pay us the same, or reasonably within the same numbers. So, it's close enough where we say, oh, this one is best for you for your needs. Then the features and the benefits decide the product, not the commission or the payment to the broker. I'm going to tell you that one more time because I think this is very important. Make sure the features and the benefits decide the product or the service that's right for you, and not the commissions and the profit to the company. Because then, as Jeff was laying out, when you decide to layer the different products or companies for you, you're doing so in a way where you can get guarantees that never run out of money, but with the option to say, you know what, hey, I've got a lot more in there than I thought. Give it to me. Give me a chunk. Give me 20%. Give me $5,000. It might affect your income a little bit, but wouldn't it be nice to have an extra 10 or 20 or 30,000? Maybe you're sick and you need to make a trip down to a special clinic or a place. You can do that instead of saying, well, I guess I don't have any more money because the first of the month isn't here yet, but when it comes, I'll have another 3,000. Wouldn't it be nice to say I want 50,000 or 10,000? You can do that with certain types of accounts and certain types of annuities. So there's a purpose for them. Would I say put all of your eggs in one basket? Never. I don't do it. Jeff doesn't do it. We're smart with that, like you should be, and most people should be, by not putting it all in one type of investment or one company. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in a second. We're going to finish up this top of the hour, to the top of the hour by talking about annuities and that final little twist to make it work for you. We'll be right back at Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby along with Jeff Girard. Okay, your family's finances are a big part of your life, right? Most of us will spend every single day at one point or another touching money sometime during the day. And I always say, if you're 2 years old or 102, you touch money every day. It might be the little penny that your kids pick up. It could be a dollar bill. It could be today in the form of a debit card or writing a check. But literally every single day, people touch money every day. And yet the knowledge and the competence in handling it, I think the correct way, is so low. So many people touch it, so very few have any skill set with understanding what it's supposed to do. Money is not magic. It's a tool. It's like a hammer or a nail. If we were 250 years ago, it would be equivalent to you having, if you were a sheep farmer, and you had a bunch of sheep, it'd be sheep. If you were a chicken farmer, your money would be chicken. You would exchange it from the shoe cobbler for shoes for your children or your family. You'd say, I'll give you 10 sheep for 3 pairs of shoes. Oh, wait a second, your sheep are kind of small or your chicken are small. Okay, well, so you would negotiate based on the product that you were good at. Today, they level the playing field. About 120 years ago, they outlawed bartering in the last 100 years, but 120 years ago when money became what it is, the bartering system over the last 100 years is gone. It's actually, do you know you're not allowed to cut my hair and I mow your lawn? Or you watch my kids and I can tomatoes for you? Now, the IRS isn't going to run around and put you in jail for that. But because it's not taxable, they can't go out and tax it, there's no value, they said you can't do that. You have to sell your canned tomatoes, and then now you got all the EPA and health department rules, but that's on a side note. You have to sell your thing that you're good at, make money. Take those dollars and in turn go and buy the lawn mowing service or the hair, and during that transaction, the money is taxed ultimately in 1 or 2 or 3 different times before it goes from one hand to the other. So the government's interest is not to allow you to just conduct commerce on a daily basis. It's to tax that commerce as it's coming and going. That is an important component because no longer do you have to be good. Let's think of your largest Golden Arches fast food chain. Many of you would say that is not the best hamburger in Santa Clarita. Maybe some of you like it, that's fine. But many people would say In-N-Out Burger. I choose In-N-Out Burger over a McDonald's hamburger. Okay, if that is where you fit, then why is it that there's more McDonald's, more real estate owned in the world by McDonald's than any other fast food chain. Maybe Kentucky Fried Chicken, or now it's called KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken might be a little bit more. What's the difference? Because McDonald's is not in the hamburger business, they're in the real estate business. They're in the franchise business. In-N-Out might say, we're in the hamburger business. So their hamburgers are fresh, never frozen, and whatever their little taglines are. So remember, what business are you in? And I think your business needs to be in managing your money, not in just being good at an engineer or a teacher or a police officer or a firefighter. That's nice. But the day when all of us were paid in money, that's where the rules changed. That's why poor people, in my opinion, are poor, not because they're bad or dirty, but because they bought into a system that said, be really good at your skill. Well, that's nice, but who cares? You can be you can be a high school dropout, be so at your skill, but manage the money better, and 20 years later you're a millionaire. You can have a PhD in a wonderful career field, mismanage your money, and you're bankrupt for the second time in 20 years. It doesn't matter what your college education or your family name or your color of your skin or your sexual identity, whatever they call it these days. That doesn't matter to your financial wealth. What matters is how well you manage the money you're paid. And the reason that annuities and the guaranteed source of income comes into play is because you can control and manipulate, if you will, the way you receive your income by now being in control of that. And that changes a lot.
I want to add something to sticking to what you're good at and taking that same thought process and looking at your current employer, whether it's a governmental agency or you make widgets or you're a plumber, some type of service-based company. Is that company in financial services? Is that company a pension fund? No. Do they know how to manage actuarial calculations? No, they don't. What do? They hire an outside company, typically, or a firm that would handle something like that. And what we've seen over the years, and I'm sure there are countless stories, and I won't name any on here, wherein a company, you transferred, or an employee or a set of employees transferred risk to their employer. Look, they did that all day long, right? They traded their time in exchange for a paycheck and hoping that, hey, look, I made good on my word. I was here every day for the last 2 weeks or the last month. You gave me a paycheck, right? So we're good? Fantastic. Now, do you expect them to continue to do that for the next 20, 30, 40 years when you're not working there and not have it change in some form or fashion? More and more companies, as I mentioned, are starting to offer that buyout, because it's a bit risky for them to take that type of agreement for such a long term. So I would heavily consider it. Doesn't mean that it's always right. You know, there's certainly examples where and criteria that you'd have to meet in order to say, look, I think this is hands down a better deal over the other, whichever way you go. But certainly taking a look at that as a potential option, and then working with somebody that has access to some of the products and services out there when it comes to retirement income planning. I think that's probably at least worth a second look, and you may want to consider finding somebody sooner than later.
The process of planning and building, unfortunately, has dropped back into your lap. I say unfortunately because I don't think you were trained in school or in your family environment to expect that. All of us would or could see how our family, our parents dealt with money in a family environment. Sometimes it was a day-to-day conversation on purpose. Sometimes it was by accident. You go pushing the shopping cart through the store and, Mommy, can I have this? No, put that back. Daddy, can I have that? Or you get older and you say, Mom, can I have what do you think, money grows on tree, kid? I worked overtime for that. So often the conversation around money, especially when you're like 10, 11, 12, and you say, Daddy, how much does he make? And you're right in front of him. Son, it's not right. Son, it's rude to ask people how much money they make. Oh, okay. Daughter, we don't talk about money at the dinner table. So what kind of a mixed message do we send when we say it's rude to ask people what they make, and we don't talk about money at the dinner table, and money is the root of all evil? And you forgot the part that says love of money is the root of all evil. But it could be the love of anything, could be really at least on some form of evil, right? If it's a distraction from the right things to do. But the conversation that money's bad or wrong tends to permeate our upbringing. But today, and here's a big chunk of money called your 401k or your pension, or a big paycheck or $100,000 a year income, and manage it. You go, goodness, I'm not sure if I'm capable, when you've got this story in the back of your mind that's always talked about money being bad. Total Financial Solutions, that's who we are. If we can help you with the process, fantastic. You can go to hometownstation.com, click on Total Financial Solutions, or go to TFS Wealth, stands for Total Financial Solutions, tfswealth.com. I'm Arif Halaby, and that's Jeff Girard. We're here every week at this time, noon to 1, talking about your family's finances. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on AM 1220 KHTS.